Tia from the United States. Before we begin my tale, please like and subscribe. I'm just your average high school girl next door. Pretty, talented, and great at parties.
C-A-P. Cap!
I had everything I could ever want. Even my parents were awesome. There was only one thing I really wanted. A boyfriend. I dated before, but all those guys were jerks. I was beginning to lose hope in ever finding my Prince Charming. That was until Chris came into my world years later in high school. My eyes were immediately hooked onto him. The looks, the smile, and the muscles rippling underneath his shirt. I just had to have him. So I asked him out, something I would never do normally. But it all worked out because he said yes. It didn't take long for us to finally go on our first dinner date. It was incredible. He was such a gentleman and knew just the right things to say. I knew right as he took my hand that he was the one. But of course, something just had to happen to ruin it. Chris had planned a date at a fancy new restaurant downtown. I was so excited. I actually got ready early this time and speed walked to the restaurant with a spring in my step. But when I finally got there, my heart fell to the floor and shattered. Sitting next to my boyfriend was another girl with her arm around his shoulder. I didn't care if he looked a bit uncomfortable. I wasn't taking this betrayal lying down. So I burst through the doors and marched straight up to the duo's seat. Who is this?
Good question. How about I leave you alone with this guy instead?
Tia, you're early.
Answer the question, Chris. How could you cheat on me?
Wait, I didn't cheat.
Who is this then? Hello, you must be Tia. I've been looking forward to meeting you. I'm Chris's big sister. The name's Vecta. The girl's cheeky smirk nearly made me get physical, but her last words registered just in time. Sister? Yep, I wanted to see who claimed my brother's heart and changed him so much. You see, I'm very interested because Chris and I are very close. Oh, Chris, I have this really funny story to tell you. That's hilarious! Oh, stop it, Tia. I think I just peed a little. I didn't even tell it yet. But I know it's really funny. You just said so yourself. I tried to act like I wasn't bothered at all and leaned over to feed Chris some of my pasta. But seconds later, he started coughing and turning blue. Oh my God, you poisoned him! What? Of course I didn't. Chris, are you okay? Say something. He can't, you moron. His tongue is swollen. What is in that pasta? Blueberries, kiwis, dandelion tea, rosehip oil, Diet Coke? And with that, she quickly reached into her bag, pulled out an EpiPen, and stabbed him with it in the thigh. He gasped and coughed some more, but he could finally breathe. What would you do without me, bro? The date ended after that, thankfully. And as I went home, I hoped it was the last I'd ever see of her. But for the next 2 months, it was the same. No matter where we went and what we did, Vecta was there to ruin it. And she kept making it obvious that she disapproved of me greatly. I'd catch her staring at me with disdain, like I wasn't worthy of him or something. That night in bed, I stayed up pounding my pillow, imagining it was Vecta's face. I wanted wanted our private time back. But as much as I wanted to slap her, violence wasn't the solution. Instead, I needed to know what Vecta's problem was. There must be a reason for why she was acting the way she was. Luckily, a puzzle piece fell into place during the weekend. As promised, I was hanging out with Chris at his place. We were watching a cheesy romance movie while snuggling on the couch. Right on time, Vecta came out of nowhere and inserted herself into our lives again. No, literally, she came and sat between us on the couch, holding a dead potted plant. You let our plant die? The plant that symbolizes our bond as brother and sister?
I've never even seen that plant before. Vecta, what do you want?
What's happening next week, Vecta? It's the annual LARPing Capture the Flag event for our city. LARPing? Like that thing nerds do outside?
Good question. How about I leave you alone with this guy instead?
Playing pretend? Yeah, figures you would say that. Are you attending it with me, Christopher? You can even bring your girlfriend.
Why would I do that? That's for losers.
Then Tia should fit right in. That was it. What is your problem? You?
Sis?
No, everything was fine before she showed up in your life. I could say the same for you.
Stop it, you two.
No, not if we want this to stop for good. Vecta, I have a proposal. Interesting. Shoot. We'll join your stupid game. Do we play in teams? Oh, I see where you're going with this. Yeah, we do. I'll be on the team opposing yours. If my team wins, you'll stop interfering in our relationship. And if mine wins, you'll break up with Christopher.
That is not your choice to make, Vecta.
What? Scared she'll lose? I love Christopher, and I'll prove it by beating you. Deal? Deal. We shook hands, and I suddenly realized I just made a deal with the devil. All because I let my emotions get the better of me. I don't even know how to LARP. But there was no backing down now. My relationship was on the line. Before this is over, I'm going to remind my brother of who he really is, all while kicking you to the curb where you belong.
If we're going to do this, then I'll have to train you.
You know how to LARP?
Of course not. I just picked up some things from my sister.
If you say so. Where do we start?
Conditioning.
Say what? Chris was not joking. I was put through actual exercises and drills like I was preparing for the army. I was seconds away from giving up, but I refused to lose to Vecta. So I pushed on. And you know what? I'm glad I kept at it. Sure, the conditioning was terrible, but once I was actually playing the game, it felt like I was in another world. I hadn't seen him smile like this since ever, really. And if he was happy, I was happy. Eventually, the weekend came, and it was finally time for the event. And when we arrived at the venue, oh my god, there were at least 200 people here. They had even built small buildings and tents, and the large space with a nice forest surrounding us made it even more picturesque. Before I could really appreciate the beauty, Vecta came running up to Chris. Christopher, you really came.
Of course, we both did.
Hello. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about you. Are you sure she won't slow you down? I'd hate for you to lose because of a handicap. Before I could dig further, a horn echoed throughout the field. It was almost time. The two teams, red and green, got into position. The two flags were placed in their proper bases. Finally, the next horn signaled the start of battle. I kept close to Chris. Despite the training, this was still nerve-wracking. We split up and went deeper into the forest. And this is where things got bad. One by one, my squad was picked off by some archer in the woods. It didn't take long for me to be the last one standing. That's when the culprit revealed herself. I'm surprised you lasted this long. Vecta, of course, I should have known. We stared each other down before Vecta threw down her bow and drew her foam sword and shield. Let's make a new deal. The first one to get a hit wins. Same conditions from before apply. I drew my own sword and shield. Fine. Good. Prepare for failure. Wasting no time, Vecta charged at me as if this was a life-and-death battle, and I responded in kind. I wasn't losing my relationship with Chris. We clashed repeatedly, trading blows on our shields, unable to get a body shot. Shockingly, I was holding my own. Chris had taught me well. I dodged an attack to my leg and asked the burning question in my head. What is your problem with me dating Chris? Shouldn't you be happy for him? Now that really got her mad, and she was lashing out even harder. You seriously haven't figured it out? Of course not. Why would someone like you remember some poor, nerdy boy who bravely asked the popular girl out? Huh? Suddenly, it all fell into place. Chris was Christopher, the nerdy boy I had turned down all those years ago. Christopher used to be a big nerd just like me, and we were always super close. But he decided to abandon who he is to become the kind of guy you'd want, a typical Prince Charming. I barely even recognize him now. I felt ashamed of how I hadn't even given Christopher a chance before. I judged him by his appearance before I even got to know how sweet and amazing he was. But I knew that now, and I liked everything about him, nerdy side and all. I wasn't so shallow anymore. With renewed determination, I took advantage of Vecta's rash attacks and finally got a hit on her side, and she lost. She was about to break down into tears, but before that could happen, I hugged her. I get why you hate me, Vecta, and I'm sorry for turning him down like that before. Your brother is a great guy.
C-A-P. Cap!
And I would never want to change him. Are you serious? Yeah, I love him after all.
C-A-P. Cap!
For the first time, I actually saw Vecta give me a genuine smile. I gladly returned it. Just then, the horn blew, signaling someone had won. We ran back to the team's base, and the sight brought another smile to our faces. Christopher, was being carried by his team while holding the green flag, and the smile he wore melted my heart. We won! My brother is something special, huh? He sure is.